The fabric of the building has been designed. The fixed building specification and low carbon technologies needs to be designed starting with ventilation. Generally speaking, some form of heat recovery system is required if designing to the extreme fabric. For a heat recovery system to work efficiently, the air tightness needs to be 3 air exchanges or less. The software requires the area in meter squared of the living room. The SAP software will require the number of intermediate fans, which are used in bathrooms and kitchens, and the number of passive vents. The designer needs to choose a performance level and click on Select. Generally speaking, 100% lighting should be chosen. If the designer needs to interrupt the design process, they press the Save button on the last page used. To get back to the position they were in, they go back into the calculator and use the drop-down menu to locate where they were. All the design elements have been completed will be in green. If the designer is happy with the last design section that was completed, they click on Save, and this information is saved, and the designer will automatically move to the next stage of the project. The designer needs to choose a performance level and click on Select. Generally speaking, stoves would not be used in apartments. In this case, the designer would simply click on None as a performance level and click on Save. The number of chimneys needs to be input. Again, if building to the FEE standard or better, it is recommended not to have open chimneys as they can reduce the space heating efficiency. This information is used to calculate the performance of the building by the online SAP software. The designer needs to choose a performance level, and the software will ask the designer to input the number of proposed occupants. Select the type of system, the pitch and elevation, and the software will calculate the area of panels that should be used. Solar panels are generally not used in the design of apartments, and if not positioned on an elevation that has some sort of southerly aspect, then their efficiency is greatly reduced. The capacity of the hot water storage tank is decided by the number of occupants and if solar panels are being used. If a combination boiler or community system is selected, then no storage tank is required. The performance of the tank is determined by the depth of the factory fitted insulation. The software will present the recommended depth based on the performance level chosen. The designer has the ability to change the insulation depth. Water usage does not really affect the performance of the dwelling, but it does help with the Code of Sustainable Home rating. The designer has two options: reduce water by introducing a rainwater harvesting system, or use taps and toilets that reduce each person's usage to less than 120 litres per day. See the best practice section of the website. The designer needs to choose a performance level and click on Select. The software will present the designer with a selection of boilers. Because this design process is using the Fabric First approach, the selection of boilers are cost effective with an efficiency of not less than 90%. If a designer wants to use a boiler or a heating system not on our system, they can. But it will not be used to calculate the performance of the building by our SAP software, but will be picked up by the As Constructed Building Control System and will be used by the Energy Assessor to calculate the As Constructed energy rating. The designer needs to choose performance level and click on Select. The software will present the designer with the selection of control systems. Because this design process is using the Fabric First approach, the selection of controls are zoned with thermostats and can react quickly to temperature changes. If a designer wants to use a control system not in our selection, they can, but it will not be used to calculate the performance of the building by our SAP software, but it will be picked up by the As Constructed Building Control System and will be used by the Energy Assessor to calculate the As Constructed energy rating. The designer has now completed the design of the specification. All the design dimensions and design decisions are stored on the designer member's administration page on the Foresight database. The designer needs to check if the decisions made are compliant with the performance level they require by going to the result page.